welcome to episode 134 of Timm Talk, the podcast about the DC animated universe, co-created by Bruce Timm. I am Chris Lord.
I'm Cameron Dexter.
And we're here.
We're done, people.
We're at the end of Zeta, and of course, it ends on what I would call a high note, actually.
Yeah.
And then...
Is this the best episode?
I actually think it probably...
For the most part, yeah.
I think it is, because sometimes we forget to do this. We did do our short lists
for the
whole show.
Well, we joked about in the middle that we're going to do an anti-short list.
Right.
Of like...
the worst episodes.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be the bonus point of the short list, is what was the worst episode. But
I mean, tornado, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, there we go. Spoiler alert. It's just the tornado episode. Definitively. We're going to do our short list. We're at the end. And, the way this ends, I say I wouldn't have been opposed to seeing more. I think...
No, but you know how they'd stretch that out.
Well, I think that's exactly it.
They wouldn't even mention this until episode 7 of season 3.
No, and that's exactly it. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to figuring out where the story goes from here. The problem is when this show aired, we talked about this before, kids' cartoons were structured in such a way that the first episode of the season, the last episode of the season actually had like all the storytelling, and everything in the middle was mostly just fluff.
Yeah.
If they were doing kind of a more serialized format rather than episodic one. And so, yeah, season 3 of this probably would have been terrible, but at least would have answered some questions. But I mean, we'll get into what season 3 would have looked like towards the end there, and maybe speculate a little bit where things would have gone. But before that, we do have not really a lot of news, but a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit of news here and there. So
we both kind of had our head down this week. So if we miss anything big...
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
You and I both had insane work weeks. And then for those of you who follow Cameron and I on social media, you would have seen we were at Disneyland
for 18 hours yesterday.
18 hours on Saturday, which we'll also get into that a little bit at the end too and talk about that experience because it was absolutely insane. But yeah, we've been like kind of shut off from the world. I opened up my my windows this morning and it smelled super smoky. I'm like, oh, is there another fire happening? And there's another fire happening.
Oh, there is.
It's the tick fire. It looks like up near Santa Clarita. But I was surprised at just how smoky it was. I was like, oh, maybe it's somewhere close, but it's really not. And it seems to have cleared up. I don't know. But like, I didn't even know that was going on.
Okay.
Because we've been so distracted.
Yeah, I mean, we were basically quarantined all day yesterday, all day Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, there was no time to look up news. And then if we did, that was just burning through precious battery life that we needed to post the whole thing on Instagram.
Yeah.
So
what news do we have to talk about?
We have news of Joker, despite our hope that this would all go away.
Yeah.
It very much hasn't. It is now the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. As of the time I'm reading this article, which is published on Friday, 788 million. So it's I'm sure by the end of this weekend it'll cross 800. And it only costs 70 million to produce. So this is a massive,
this is a big old win for you, WB.
Huge success for Warner Brothers.
I know everyone's been posting the list. Are the top 5 movies all? No, I guess Fox is Deadpool. Are the other ones all WB?
Well, because The Hangover is up there, right?
Yeah, Hangover is like 6 or 7. If you look at Ryan Reynolds' Instagram, he does a super easy list.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Based on this is IMDb Pro Box Office Mojo. Okay, this hasn't been updated in a while because it still has.
It's Joker, Deadpool, Matrix, It. No, that can't be right. Matrix was an R, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, it was? Oh, wow. Okay. Joker, Deadpool, Matrix, It, Passion of the Christ, Logan, Hangover, 50 Shades of Grey, and Ted.
A lot of those are Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ted and... I know Ted's Universal. 50 Shades of Grey might also be. I don't remember. Who's that one? And I feel like I don't know who distributed Passion of the Christ.
Jesus. The Catholic Church got $600 million.
It's absolutely true. We've talked at length about the Joker at this point. And and one of my kind of major problems is that this movie, I think, the more successful it is, I think the more it undercuts whatever effective message it might have had. Mm-hmm. Not going to get into that again. Yeah. I mean, look, but we also mentioned it on our actual episode on the Joker that at the end of the day, a lot of people worked on this outside of Todd Phillips. And the success of this will mean a lot of opportunity and success for a lot of people that are connected with it in various capacities. And for that alone, it's a good thing. And at the end of the day, you and I both work in the industry, so it's just good when things go well.
Yeah, so, it's surprising sometimes.
It is, yeah. You and I have very mixed feelings about the whole thing, but I mean, realistically, like, this movie's gonna just kind of fade out eventually. Like, it's gonna make a fuckload of money, and then I think people, after the award season, when it probably doesn't win any Oscars, people will just...
And everyone has their hands up in the air.
Oh my God, there's no love for comic book movies. Mm-hmm. Someone needs to respect the genre. Folks, this isn't a comic book movie.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, if there have been any comic book movies of late that deserve any sort of awards attention, frankly, it should be Endgame.
I was going to say Teen Titans Go to the Movies.
Well, that too. Teen Titans Go to the Movies is a goddamn classic.
Yeah.
But no, like, Endgame is an unbelievable achievement in filmmaking.
I mean, it'll probably get it's like a unique award.
I mean, they don't really do unique awards.
Yeah, but we also don't usually have movies that take 20 years to tell a story.
But that doesn't... I think for the Academy and for a huge swath of its voters who, not to generalize, but I think maybe have a similar mindset to
they still do like
Scorsese.
Outstanding Achievement awards.
Yeah, but
they
like
give one to Feige.
I mean, they'll sometimes present like individual achievement awards. They love to reward
themselves.
Yes, themselves. They love to reward individuals for accomplishments, but they basically never go like, hey, we don't want to give this movie Best Picture, but it's deserving of some sort of recognition, so here's some random bonus like award. Mm-hmm. One, they don't do that because I think it then undercuts the message of Best Picture, which is supposed to be like the best film of the year, however you want to cut that.
Yeah.
And then also it sort of becomes this like tokenized award a little bit of like, oh, like it's the same reason when, for a lot of reasons, having a best animated movie is kind of a bad thing.
Okay. I can see that argument.
Because then it basically just goes like, oh, well, because you have your own separate category, we don't have to include you in the real award.
Yeah.
That's why so few animated movies to this day actually get Best Picture nominations. And the fact that Beauty and the Beast got it back in 91, thank you, is a huge achievement.
Well, did the animation category exist in 91?
No.
I didn't think so, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing. They eventually made an animation category so that animated movies get recognized, and that in of itself is a good thing. But it also is a way of being like, you don't fit the same sort of criteria as a quote-unquote real film. Mm-hmm. And that's like across the board. Like a lot of organizations within the industry just don't really recognize animation, which you and I obviously have major problems with.
There was an interview with people on the board, the people that do all the like reviews and votings for the Oscars, and a lot of them were like, well, yeah, when it comes to animated movie, I just asked my kid which movie he liked the best.
Yeah,
and like they don't watch any of the animated shorts. That's why it always goes to Disney.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the other problem with the shorts is there's still no good distribution platform for that. Mm-hmm. Like a handful of theaters in LA will do like short screenings. They'll show all of the shorts, over a 2.5 whatever hour period.
Yeah.
But even I'm not 100% certain where the theaters are. It's not even major stuff like the ArcLight. It's like,
no, AMC does it.
Does AMC do it?
Yeah, AMC will do it usually 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after the Oscars.
Okay, but they'll do like a handful of showings for each. And, look, that's good, but also at the end of the day, like, maybe they should just put a lot of that stuff up online.
Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, a lot of it is people just, because it's not in a theater and because the internet is so vast, just no one ever sees them online.
What I'm saying is like
there's no advertising for them.
Yeah, the Academy should just go ahead and put them up online and be like, hey, here are the shorts. That way anyone has a chance to watch them going into it. And I think people would actually then be more if people actually had the chance to watch them, they'd be more invested in them, both as an audience and as a voting member. And then I think that the whatever sort of like positive momentum could come out of them after the fact would be greater. Because right now it's basically like, hey, if your short gets an Oscar, one, that's amazing. That's incredible that you have like, I feel like, what is it, like Peter Capaldi or someone like random has like a pretty big name actor has a best short Oscar.
Oh, that's interesting.
I forget who it is. I think it might be Capaldi. I can't remember. But, then if maybe you don't win, at least if they're accessible, people will go through and watch them and be like, oh, well, that was my personal favorite, didn't win, but hey, what's that person doing now? What's that filmmaker working on? Let me go figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
We've gone down a whole tangent here.
I did want to say before we jump off the Joker train.
Yeah.
There was a wonderful interview with Nick Kroll. Do you like Nick Kroll?
I love Nick Kroll.
Okay, good. Me too.
It was a big hit interview, right?
Yeah. Where he was talking about the Todd Phillips thing, and we talked about it ad nauseum at this point of the tweet, how comedy is dead, and Big Mouth.
You just can't be funny anymore.
Yeah, you can't be funny. Can't. And Nick Kroll's like, we did a whole ballad about girls on their first period. Like, you can make comedy. You can still make raunchy comedy.
Yeah.
You just can't do it at the expense of people.
It's
that's not
exactly
hard.
That's exactly what it comes down to. It's like people who have always been the butt of the joke just shouldn't be the butt of the joke anymore.
Yeah, like Big Mouth is probably the raunchiest show we have.
I actually haven't seen it
right
yet.
Now.
I really need to watch it.
It's great.
I feel like I would love it.
It's gross.
Yeah.
There was a whole musical number about like a whole subplot of an episode was one of the kids is trying to take the perfect dick pic to send to his cousin.
Oh, they talk about that in the interview. Yeah, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that show is unbelievable. The stuff they get away with, and it's the whole like Wild West of Netflix ratings. They don't have to kind of abide by the same rules as network ratings.
Oh no,
so they can do whatever they want.
Yeah,
and he even talks about like one of the characters came out as trans, and I think it was trans, and the trans community like bit back at that, and like, okay, cool, thank you for your input, and we fixed the character.
Yeah,
based off of and like that's how you have to handle these situations right now.
I think there
it is.
Oh my God, she's back
on the dot.
It really is like every Saturday. Excuse me. Today's Sunday, right?
Today's Sunday.
Every Sunday morning at 10:30, she's always starting up that goddamn motorcycle. But
okay,
I think what's important with comedy now is it has to come from a place of truth, where a lot of comedy in the past was coming from a place of stereotype. And I think if, in the case of like that trans character, people still don't fully understand that truth, then there's room for a little bit of pushback and then hopefully some adjustment to make it more truthful. But the goal should always be to come from that sort of like sincere, empathetic place of truth and not just being like, hey, this is a stereotype about people. Let's just throw that up on screen because that'll make people laugh.
Do you think it's funny how this kind of person walks like this?
Oh my God, it's
this
so
kind of person
funny.
Walks like this. I love that joke so much, just because like how like that's the joke of jokes now.
Yeah, it's like that's how you know you're a hack.
Yeah,
so you're talking about everyone's walk. All right, so a little bit else in terms of news. The only other big thing that happened this last week was obviously the final trailer for the little Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
Looks good.
I'm pumped.
I'm really excited about it too. I mean,
have you gotten into Theory World yet?
I'm actively avoiding that. The only place that I did was
so don't send us your theories.
Don't send us your theories, but like, look, you can check off Timm Talk Bingo, as I mentioned, the Empire podcast here.
The what?
It's a podcast about the Roman Empire.
Can you spell it out for me just so I have it right?
Yeah, it's EMPYYYYYER.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. Unique. Very unique spelling.
Yeah, they like to do something a little bit different with it.
Well, I guess they're trying to stay away from the Empire magazine because there's too much
they don't want to
overlap.
confuse themselves with the fantastic British film magazine Empire.
Yeah,
got to completely differentiate. But no, they did not a trailer reaction, but a trailer breakdown basically, and they just kind of went through it like bit by bit and talked about it. And they threw out some some like small theories here and there, like nothing major. They had like some speculation of where things might fall within the film, but nothing really getting into.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, like there's nothing that gets into like spoiler territory. It's not like they're commenting on internet rumors. They're just talking about what their impressions are of the trailer. Which
you see on this frame, you can see the time travel device held by C-3PO.
Yeah, look, it looks really fantastic. You know, you and I are big Star Wars fans. Both came out of The Last Jedi a little disappointed. It's something that I do want to revisit for a third time before the
I think it's still on Netflix.
I think it is, yeah. So I do want to go back to it.
And also, November 12th, just a few short weeks away.
That's true. It's
all
going up.
There's a small thing called Disney Plus coming out.
Oh my god, it's gonna be amazing. Well, actually, so along those lines, one of the little story that came out that I was intrigued by was Ewan McGregor talking about how long he's known about this. Apparently, it's been 4 years.
Wow.
So that would line up with about when he did his voice cameo for The Force Awakens during that like weird Force Flash sequence. So they probably came to him with the project in some capacity. I'm not sure if it was a movie or it was a TV show or what, but like he would have known he was doing something back in like 2015.
Okay.
And he's been having to just lie to everyone for the last 4 years.
I mean, that makes sense though.
It totally does. I mean, that's pretty typical, but I just thought it was absolutely crazy how long that had been going on. But no, I mean, in terms of The Rise of Skywalker, like I am excited for this. We were both a little bit let down by The Last Jedi. I have worries about J.J. Abrams trying to over-course correct because I think...
Oh, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think Rian Johnson went places that J.J. wouldn't have.
Honestly, I would see it as the funniest thing ever if he just picked up from Force Awakens and acted like Last Jedi didn't even happen. Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing's kind of weird in terms of how this trilogy's been approached. I think it's pretty clear that they didn't have a cohesive vision going all the way through. So part of me actually would kind of love to have seen the version that would have been directed by Rian Johnson. I don't think he was ever actually really in contention for it. I think they actively didn't want him to direct. Well, yeah, they wanted a different director for all three.
Yeah, and that didn't really pan out ultimately.
Right.
I don't know. I think it would have been interesting to see him push things so crazy with The Last Jedi and then have to bring it back in some sense. And I think JJ is going to like kind of fix things. Maybe they don't need to necessarily be fixed. But that being said, like the trailer looks spectacular.
Yeah.
And I guess if this movie is kind of like The Force Awakens and that it's like really fun and feels Star Wars-y, even if it's a little bit rehashy, I'll probably find it satisfying.
Yeah. I think they just want, especially after the Game of Thrones fiasco, I think they just want a safe ending.
Yeah, which, I don't know. Mixed thoughts on that.
It was I think it was on the Game of Thrones Reddit. Someone was making a joke about 3PO the Broken is going to rule the galaxy.
Oh my god, that's fantastic. That's so good.
It's like who has the greatest story here? Well, obviously this golden droid, the broken droid, 3PO. He deserves to be king.
Yeah, one of two characters that has been in every single Star Wars movie. And actually, at this point, the only actor that has been, because of course Kenny Baker passed away a few years ago.
Yeah,
and I think even then, I think since The Force Awakens, most of that has been the really impressive robotics, fully operating robotic R2-D2s that are now out there. So, no, I mean, super excited for this, obviously. Yeah. Crazy excited. I got my lightsabers ready.
You just got a lightsaber.
I just got
another one.
I did turn them both on this morning, and
of course
you
did.
Very, very satisfying. I'm very irresponsible.
Yeah.
But shall we dive into our final episode of Zeta at this point?
Let's do it.
All right. So,
quick side tangent already. Did I tell you that I got called out by work for being a walking Disney Plus sponsor?
No, because of this podcast or just in general?
No. I was in a brainstorm meeting for some not even Disney related thing, and we were talking about something, and they're like, "Yeah, I wish I could just have everything in one spot." I'm like, "Well, did you know on November 12th there's a service coming out called Disney?" And there's like 3 other people that are on the campaign with me. They're like, "Cameron, shut up about Disney Plus." And I'm like, "It's only $6.99 a month, guys."
I mean, it's amazing. It's going to be amazing. Have you figured out what's the first thing you're going to watch?
I don't know yet. My friend sent me a list. I don't know if it's from an official spot anywhere or if he just had a very slow day at work, but he sent me an Excel checklist of all 613 things coming day one. I'm just sounding more and more like a sponsor.
I mean, yeah.
If only
Disney were paying us for all this free advertising.
If you act in the next 5 minutes, 855-4321. That's 855-4321. You too can get 3 sets of knives with your Disney Plus subscription.
What number is that?
I don't know.
Everyone, please don't go call that number. We don't know whose it is. It's not Cameron's. So, but yeah, how about this? If you send Cameron an Instagram...
That's a great deal, but how about this?
Yeah. If you send Cameron an Instagram message by 7 a.m. the Tuesday this comes out, he will pay for your Disney Plus subscription.
You know what? I'm not above it. Because you said The Mandalorian's going to be your first thing, right?
I think so. Yeah, it probably will be. I think it's the thing I'm most excited about. Because I want to dive into something new rather than just seeing something that I've seen before.
I'm trying to think if there's like a Disney movie that I haven't been able to find anywhere. Or show. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. Cats Don't Dance isn't a Disney film.
I already own that now on 3 platforms.
Of course you do. All right. Well, before we get too far down the Disney Plus hole. All right. So our last episode is Zeta here. The Hologram Man.
Hologram Man.
Hologram Man. I actually quite liked this episode. They actually had a lot of story to cover. I think
they had so much. Did you remember who Brothers Day was?
I had vaguely recalled it because
I don't ever remember them mentioning that name before.
They mentioned it in The Wired Part 1 and 2. So the opening of this season, they mentioned it. And I feel like it popped up maybe at least once or twice.
It popped up because when I did my shortlist, I read the synopsis of every episode again.
Yeah.
Which was so much more pleasurable than rewatching the episodes.
Agreed.
They mentioned it when the NSA took Bucky in.
Okay, that's right.
Bennett said that he was working for Brothers Day.
Yeah, Blackest Night?
Yeah, I was going to say Blackest Night.
Yeah. So, I mean, Brothers Day is this very vague terrorist organization that had... it involved Zeta's last mission as an NSA operative. So he was trying
They're
to
also like anti-synthoid.
Which we only, I think, learned in this episode.
Great.
I think at this point they were just kind of this weird background organization. He was on he was on a mission to get some data from them, and he impersonated this dude who was potentially working with them. It's a whole thing. I think that was all in The Wired. But in this episode, we learned that there's this guy, where it is named Titus Sweet, who I think maybe was in that first episode.
I think so.
Yeah.
It might have just been another generic big guy.
Yeah, that's true. They're not super differentiated, but it is noteworthy because, of course, it is. Oh my God! Robert Costanzo, who was the voice of Bullock on.
Okay,
BTOS.
That's why that voice sounds so familiar.
Yeah. But so he is an anti-synth. He's one of the head members of Brothers Day, which is an anti-synthoid organization, and. So basically what happens is the episode starts out with Ro and Zeta going to an NSA debriefing post, and we discover that it's, a very generic looking building, and then behind it is this massive sprawling organization a la the Ministry of Magic, although they don't go in through the toilets, they go in through phone booths. But it's where all of the synthoids come in and out to get their mission orders, to be debriefed, and there's a shitload of them.
Also... he is a wanted criminal still and just goes in as himself.
Yeah.
Why not disguise yourself as a different synthoid?
I mean,
if there's so many other models out there.
I know. I mean, there's so much to that. The idea that there's no sort of
you're literally
identification process.
Yeah.
He like sneaks. He uses the basic synthoid technology that he's presented with to sneak into a facility exclusively designed to allow the ingress and egress of synthoids.
I was thinking about this as the episode was going on, because we see him do it throughout the series, but he does it so much in this episode where he like uses his R2D2.
It's the kinder version of RoboCop's like data spike that comes out of his hand.
I called it his aux port.
I like it.
I would have loved if they did an episode in the future where they have to use past technology that doesn't have an aux port, and he's just like, I can't communicate with this. I don't know what it's doing.
I don't know how to use this FireWire 2.0 cable.
And Ro is just like, it's a keyboard. It's a keyboard. You just type, Zeta. He's like, that's not in my programming. I never learned how to type.
That joke has been done in Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home.
Well, that's beyond my knowledge.
Okay.
Does that have Data?
No, this is with the original series cast. So it's Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, the greatest Star Trek movie ever made.
I know that one. That's called Into Darkness.
Yes, exactly. They remade it into Darkness. Mm-hmm. And then Star Trek III: The Search for Spock, which is not particularly good, but it sets up why...
Is it supposed to be the evens are good and the odds are bad?
Yes.
Okay.
And then that rule got broken with Nemesis, which was 10, and then...
It was bad.
Yeah, Nemesis isn't particularly good, and then the Star Trek reboot is 11, so then it got good again, and then... Into Darkness is 12, not very good. I really like Star Trek Beyond. It's quite a bit of a departure from the JJ ones, which makes sense. Justin Lin, different director, but I quite like it. And then we haven't had one since then. So who knows? The next one might be that weird Quentin Tarantino one.
Great.
I don't think we need it. I don't think we need that movie, but also I really love that cast.
Wait, hold on. But in the order of Star Trek films, where is Galaxy Quest?
Oh, like in terms of the best?
No, in terms of numbers. Like, if you include Galaxy Quest, does that fix the numbering? Like, is that before Voyage?
No. I mean, Galaxy Quest would have come out
97,
during
98.
the era of next generation films.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a really important question. This is more important than... Okay, so Galaxy Quest came out in 1999.
Okay, damn.
So, then yes. Wait, shit, hang on. Because I think that does...
When was Voyage?
Oh, no. Voyage Home was the 80s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so...
Was there no movie between the 80s and the reboot?
No. So then they basically were making movies. They were making original series cast movies into early 90s, well after The Next Generation was already on.
Gotcha.
It was already airing. And then Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country is the last... I hate you.
I hate this.
Now you know how you sound. All right.
I don't know what you mean. What I say is important.
So then they were still making original series movies. That ended, and then after The Next Generation ended, they did Generations, which is not particularly good, but it like wraps up elements of both generations.
Is it like that series of Power Rangers where they turn into the former Power Rangers?
Yes.
Cool. Got it.
I'm just going to say yes.
And then, I get it now.
Yeah, and then 97 is First Contact, which is amazing. Okay. I mean, it's basically the Next Generation's version of Wrath of Khan, but it's actually legitimately really good. Mm-hmm. And then I need to look up...
Is it The Revenge of Khan?
It is.
Okay.
The
Rise of Khan?
Okay, let me look up. I'm pretty sure 97 or 98 was... Okay, here we go. Okay, 96. Okay, 96 is First Contact. Damn, it doesn't fix it because 1998 is Star Trek Insurrections, which is not particularly good. But then Galaxy Quest is 99. So actually, no, it does fix it because Galaxy Quest would have been like the 10th quote unquote Star Trek film if you're going to consider it amongst the canon.
Yeah.
Fixes it. There we go. Boom.
And most people do, right?
Well, I mean, everyone... I once read an article that basically was like, what's the best Star Trek movie ever made? The Wrath of Khan or Galaxy Quest? And ultimately, I think they gave it to Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It legitimately is. Like, I can't think of any other film or TV show that has done that in the same level of success. That idea of let's take a cast of characters who like play something and make it real. Mm-hmm. Like, I read a book once that did that with like a spy. He's like an actor, but he like kind of brought into the world of espionage. It didn't really quite work. And you probably have examples of this in other places.
I'm trying to think about...
there must be something out there of like a superhero actor all of a sudden having to be a superhero. But like
Last Action Hero.
No, I don't think that's quite right because he's the TV show character pulled into the real world.
Okay, that's
this
true.
Is sort of the opposite.
Well, I'm trying to think like what kind of franchise could you do that with nowadays? Harry Potter would be funny.
The thing is, Daniel Radcliffe would and like he would do it and he'd be so good in that.
Both him and Rupert Grint would do it.
Yeah,
in a heartbeat.
And I think if the script were good enough, I could see Emma Watson maybe being on board. I think she had a pretty good sense of humor.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one's done this as well as Galaxy Quest, which is, guys, if you haven't seen Galaxy Quest, it's legitimately
amazing.
It's Look,
as someone who's never seen an episode of Star Trek, I love that movie.
it's a great film. And so, I mean, I've talked about my description before of what makes a good movie. It's something that knows what it wants to be, it succeeds. By that definition, this totally fits.
It's also Alan Rickman.
It's also Alan Rickman. And I would, like, it is... I also have another classification of film, which is a perfect film, which is a movie that I would change nothing on. There's only one thing I would change on Galaxy Quest. And there's a really obvious moment when clearly Sigourney Weaver says, fuck that, and they changed it to screw that. And I really wish they just kept it, and that was its one F-bomb. Mm-hmm. And that's the only thing I would do. Otherwise, the movie's perfect. Anywho, we're back on Zeta.
All right.
I'm going to try and stop you from continuing to derail us.
You have no power here.
I really don't. Okay, but they go into this debriefing center. There's tons of synthoids. There's a synthoid dog, which is absolutely ridiculous. But Zeta's there because he wants to figure out what's up with this module that was brought up in the season 2 premiere with The Wired, parts 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. And I feel like maybe it was mentioned once more at some point. I just can't remember where. But he has this weird module that was...
yeah, in the episode with Bennett's kid.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Quality time.
Yeah. Because Bennett's like, I don't hate you, even though that changes immediately.
It does.
He's like, you could be doing good, but you could also have ulterior motives.
Yeah, you could be dangerous. Mm-hmm. You are dangerous, and you could be more dangerous than you realize. So Zeta's trying to figure out what this module is, because NSA didn't put it in there. Brothers Day did not put it in there. So who put it in there? He's trying to figure it out. So he's hoping that if he goes and he compares his internal memory records with the debrief versions that are stored at this base, he might be able to find some sort of gap that could explain what this thing is. But while he's there, he sees Dr. Selig. My God. Finally, since the end of season 1, Dr. Selig is back.
I guess the last time we did see him was in that weird cryo
weird cryo one, Absolute Zero, yeah. So then they follow him. They follow Dr. Selig to some sort of scrapyard, basically. And they see him doing some sort of deal with Titus Sweet of Brothers Day.
Blackest Night.
Nope. And then a shootout ensues. I thought that was kind of a cool moment where Zeta gets dropped into that that molten pit and starts to overheat, and then there's no real payoff for it.
Oh no, he cuts a hole at the base of the molten pit.
Where all the
because I was waiting for just a wall of lava to come out.
Yeah. Also, I don't think they ever have molten scrap metal pits outside. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's always contained in some sort of facility.
Yeah, I was gonna say or built up. I think it's usually dug down.
Yeah. Actually, do those actually exist anywhere?
I'm sure they have to.
I mean, you don't know this, but they, of course, exist in the Terminator world because there's a pivotal sequence in Terminator 2.
Well, I was going to say in Kids Next Door they exist.
Oh, they do? Well, man.
There's a great... So there's a theme where I'm going to stretch this episode out, man.
Damn, we have so much to talk about, Cameron. Make it quick.
A string of episodes. I think they do one a season where it's the Delightful Children's birthday episode. Delightful Children being the villains across the way.
Yes, I'm aware.
For those unaware. Every season they have an episode where it's their birthday, and the kids next door, every season they want to steal their birthday cake because the Delightful Children don't want to share it with other kids. So they want to share it and give it to the rest of the kids. Basically, the kids are Bernie Sanders.
Yes, I get it.
Yeah, it's a socialism thing.
I get this political allegory from 20 years ago.
So one of the times is they're building a giant birthday cake. And they are trapping the kids that want to eat it in the batter. And it's the same giant thing in their...
molten pit?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes, but it's molten batter.
Thank you for that barely relevant reference.
You can cut that up if you want.
I'm keeping it in there so people can judge you the way I'm judging you.
It's a great show. Kids Next Door is so good.
I know, Cameron.
And it's a great episode.
It's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Star Trek. But no, so it's kind of a cool sequence. Zeta is his temperature spikes and he's glowing hot red. It's just a cool look, and then of course he bursts a fire extinguisher and is back to normal.
Yeah,
it's kind of dumb. But they discover that's actually not Selig. It's this guy Marcus Edmond, who was the
bum. I'm on 3 hours of sleep.
I know we're struggling here. He's the guy who pioneered the hologram technology that's built into Zeta. So Marcus has his own kind of wrist device that allows him to mimic Zeta's ability to project holograms. And So it turns out that he is basically being forced by Brother's Day, excuse me.
Blackest Night.
He's being forced by them to infiltrate what's called the Gnosis, which is this floating lab where Dr. Selig is based and where Zeta and all the other synthoids were constructed. And he's going to do it by continuing to impersonate Selig. Mm-hmm. So Zeta and Ro decide that they're going to do that in Marcus's place. So Zeta is disguised as
this
Marcus.
When the episode got weird for me.
Disguised as Dr. Selig.
Yeah.
Ro is now using one of the wrist devices to be disguised as a
bodyguard henchman.
As a henchman. I'm now actively avoiding you saying the phrase Brother's Day. As a henchman. Where am I with my notes here? I actually have a lot of notes because a lot happens in this episode. Holy shit.
They pack a ton of stuff in this episode.
Yeah. So then they're going to attack the base via submarine, which is loaded with a bunch of explosives.
While that's going on, Bennett learns through the most unusual technology.
Oh, this was weird. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're looking at security footage, and I guess they have a video filter to tell when someone on video is using hologram technology.
Yeah.
And they find out that it's not Selig. And so now the floating base is on high alert. And
like the submarine gets attacked by some ships. They shoot some of them down.
Brother's Day immediately just gives up.
Yeah, they're going to surrender. Zeta's like, no, we have to keep going. He steals a pod and escapes with Ro to go to the facility. Titus realizes like, oh, that's a good idea, and he blows up one of the escape pods to make it seem like the submarine was destroyed. Surprising amount of apparent death in this episode, actually.
Yeah.
For a kids' cartoon. We'll get to that further down the line. So they get to the floating fortress, and they discover that they're now building very Terminator-style semi-organic synthoids. So obviously this ties...
I wonder if this is going to come back up. This is interesting.
I know, right? Will we ever learn more about this? So this ties in with Quality Time, that episode where Dr. Selig was trying to get the DNA sequence of starfish that can regenerate parts of their limbs. Mm-hmm. Right?
But it still doesn't really talk about why he was in the cryo place.
Yeah, they never...
Still don't get that one.
That one still hasn't really ever been explained fully, nor will it ever, probably.
Yeah.
But so they're building these things, and then Ro and Zeta spot Andrea, who's Selig's assistant, who we met in Episode 0 of that cryo episode.
That's right. I was wondering
I had to look it up.
We were supposed to know who
that was. Yes, that came up again. And then Bennett, of course, arrives at the same time. And Zeta finally meets Selig. Proper Selig.
Maybe.
We'll get to that. And Selig says...
And still doesn't reveal... It's so
I know.
frustrating.
Hang on, Cameron. Let me explain what happens. They get into the room, and Zeta brings up a hologram of all the Zeta engineers, the same hologram he's looking at this whole time. And Selig walks in and is like, oh yeah, reminiscing. It's like, well, I have no reason not to tell you, random stranger, that
random stranger who's probably a government official on this secret government base that I've been going against the government this whole time.
Exactly. He installed this module, which essentially worked as a conscience for Zeta. Mm-hmm. He's like, and I had a lot of plans for that module.
That pesky boy of mine.
I guess I will tell you, random stranger, what those things were. And then Titus has shown up and set off a whole bunch of bombs, and now the whole place is evacuating. And at no point...
Oh, and also Bennett overheard this whole thing.
And Bennett overhears the whole thing. And at no point does Zeta go, wait, I'm Zeta.
I'm your son.
Until after...
Papa.
Until after Selig's been dragged out of the room by Andrea. And then at that point, Zeta's like, wait.
Papa.
I'm Zeta.
Papa.
Geppetto.
Papa, can you hear me?
Come back.
Papa, can you see me?
No.
Papa,
what is that even from?
Oh, it's a weird musical. I don't remember. You're supposed to know these things. It's like Fido or something.
Doesn't matter.
No, it matters now.
Fiddler on the Roof. Who knows?
No, it's not that.
I don't know. I've never seen that. So, Selig gets put into an escape pod, and then Titus sees that it's Selig and chases after him and shoots down the escape pod, and it crashes in the water.
Yentl.
Thank you.
Barbra Streisand.
Thank you. Shoots down the escape pod, and then Selig is presumed dead. And the bombs keep going off, and then everyone escapes, and Zeta's like, oh my god, like I never got an answer, like I now know where this thing
If only
came
there
from.
wasn't this submarine that we used to get in here that's still active underneath this exploding
Or
city.
he could have like jumped in the water and gone after him.
Yeah, if only I could breathe underwater.
Yeah, if only I was a robot that had propeller feet, I could go and save him. But yeah, I mean, so the whole thing ends with Ro and Zeta now knowing where the module came from, and that Zeta was designed to have this sort of awareness, but not knowing what the plans were intended for him or what Selig had planned with these self-generating synthoids. Bennett now knows this information, but do we know if he actually believes Selig or not? It's all unclear. And then, of course, the show ends with a cliffhanger, which is a robot hand popping out of the water, and we see that it's a self-repairing synthoid.
Basically, just a thumbs up.
Yeah. See, you know the thumbs up.
I know the thumbs up. Who doesn't know the thumbs up?
I don't know. Someone who hasn't seen Terminator 2.
Yeah, but I know the references.
Okay, so...
It's in everything.
All right. It is inescapable. It's inevitable in a lot of ways. Okay, so...
I am inevitable.
All right. So that's
Zeta. We did it.
That's the episode.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
We'll get into what season 3 would have looked like. We got a lot of really amazing information from Maddie Washburn. But do you have other thoughts on this episode in particular, or like the show in general, before we jump into what could have happened after this?
No, I think your explanation at the beginning of how these early 2000 shows are 2 episodes of story and 22 episodes of filler.
Yeah.
That hit it right on the head. And when you explain it like that, it's so frustrating to look back at all of my favorite shows. I'm like, fuck, that is exactly what it is.
I mean, I think it was a certain kind of show that fit this. I think Warner Brothers in particular really stuck to this format. We've talked about it before, that Jackie Chan Adventures is structured this way, although at least like each individual episode is...
It feels like it's moving the... Well, I mean, because there is like a clear end goal from episode 1.
Yeah.
Every episode, even though it's its own independent episode, it feels like you are moving forward.
Well, because there are, a dozen MacGuffins.
Yeah, there's 13 talismans, so that means they have 13 episodes.
In the middle.
Yeah, you have one, every talisman they take, that means you're one closer to the finale.
Exactly.
Even though there's extra filler in the middle of all that.
There are one-off episodes within that, but ultimately that show really does have a pretty clear trajectory. But I've referenced this before. The Mummy had an animated series around the same time, which is it was fun. But I remember that too being a situation where like usually they were trying to build some sort of amulet from disparate pieces spread across the globe. And, every few episodes they'd go and get another one, but there's a lot of random offshoot things. And ultimately it's like, it's the last episode where they finally get all the pieces together. It builds, the big monster comes out, and then they defeat it. Same with Jackie Chan Adventures. But other ones were a little more sophisticated. I mean, X-Men Evolution, I'd say, was a show that was more in the line with Beast makes sense because a lot of the same creatives, where it was primarily episodic, but there were overarching stories going along, and there were beats along the way that hit that. And obviously, the most storytelling was usually done in the finale, but there was actual important episodes along the way, and things happened. Episodes mattered.
Yeah. Teen Titans is another big one.
Yeah.
Where you'd kind of only have Slade and
Slade.
In episode 1 and episode 24.
Yeah.
And then everything in between. The characters developed in every episode.
Yeah. And I think that's...
Starfire got a pet, and that became a big deal.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she did.
And
Silky. I think that's where maybe this show fell off a little bit, was that it didn't strike that balance really well of being either episodic or serialized. It was basically episodic with serialized end caps, which then means a lot of stuff in the middle is inconsequential, and it never really lived up to its potential.
What foreshadowing for our lists.
I know, right? It never really just lived up to its potential. And, look, we've been shitting on it most of the time we've been doing this. But, as we've even said in this episode, like, we always have a lot of respect for the effort that goes into this sort of stuff. And we have tried. We have tried to find, like, where we could tell they were trying to do something.
You tried a little harder than I did.
I tried a little bit harder, I know. But, like, look, I think, like, Robert Goodman had intentions what this could have been, and I think he was just really stuck with shit notes from the studio at the
Yeah,
end of the
and
day.
also I don't think I've talked about this in a while, but I know I've brought it up before. This is the era of animation where studios are taking back control. We're now out of the 90s period where the creators basically ran everything up until like they ran out of money. The creators had full control over everything they were doing.
Yeah.
This is kind of the overcorrection show where the studio had, more than one hand in this cookie jar.
Yeah. And we didn't really do a lot of dive into like the background politics of, say, Superman the animated series or even Batman Beyond, although clearly there was that sort of stuff happening. But I think those shows were still creators shows at the end of the day. Like they were still pretty good, although the hits and misses along the way. This one just felt the most like it was struggling to get sort of traction, and then of course right at the end it starts to. Now, do you want to do our short list first and then go into season 3, or is season 3 then the short list?
Let's do season 3 first.
Okay, so basically, we talked about the fact that the show ends on a cliffhanger. This idea that this hand pops out of the water. Now, who do you think that is?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Absolutely, he was going to be in the entirety of season 3.
It was going to be the most
cartoon ever made.
Ambitious crossover ever of early 2000s animation.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, this was at the point when like Terminator was really struggling to get back on its feet. So I could tell.
Was there ever a Terminator animated series? I don't think so.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Because they had the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Which apparently was really good.
It was really good.
I never watched it.
Yeah, Summer Glau.
Yeah.
I love her.
Oh yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
But okay, no, whose hand do you think that is? Popping out of the water.
I mean, Robot Selig.
No, it's Andrea. It's the assistant.
Great.
So.
Oh, I don't care.
So basically, what happened was Goodman and his other creatives were pretty certain the show was going to end, but the studio gave him a mandate, which was your only chance of getting renewed is to have this end on a cliffhanger, because they really believe, a lot of studios still believe, that is necessary to keep the buzz going between seasons. You got to end on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So
you got to have that water cooler talk.
Yeah.
Or that water fountain. I guess that water fountain talk. Because the kids show.
Yeah.
The kids use water fountains and not water coolers.
She's so clever. Well done. So that had to be there. So they had to kind of find a compromise. So the compromise was that Zeta got some resolution with understanding where the module came from. Mm-hmm. But then the mandate was specifically that Selig had to appear to die at the end. That was like definitively a mandate. So what they were teeing up was that Andrea is his bodyguard, who is one of the new organic synthoid robots. Mm-hmm. And so Goodman has even said that from his perspective, that hand coming out is definitely hers. That was always the intent. And that what we don't see is her bringing Selig out of the water. So he is now alive. So season 3 would have addressed the fact that Selig is alive and Andrea is one of these new super advanced robots. It would have dive further into the idea about these semi-organic synthoids that are being teed up here. But the show was kind of like on, the phrase is on the bubble. Like they weren't sure if it's going to get picked up or not. And I guess the studio had a direction they wanted to take it that Goodman didn't agree with, to the point where he's even said that maybe it was for the best that they didn't do a season 3. And I think you and I may have talked about it off air. I don't think we've ever mentioned it on air. We may have. But one of the things that the studio wanted to do was to introduce the idea that Ro is also a robot.
Yeah.
So Maddie sent me a Twitter exchange between Julie Nathanson, who voices Ro, and Robert Goodman, the creator, where she made a comment about feeling like a robot, and his response was, that was a studio mandate. They wanted you to be a robot. She's like, oh, that's weird that you didn't include a wink. He's like, no, not a wink. That's the truth. That's how we learned about it. It was this fantastic Twitter back and forth. But like that's something they wanted to do. So, I guess maybe the Goodman version of season 3 would have maybe explored further like the impact of having all these synthoids in the world. Like what happens when they're even more advanced and they can self-heal in a way that Zeta can't, and he would have been probably put up against more advanced robots than himself, which the IU-7 thing never felt that way, even though that was the intent. So, I mean, honestly, like it would have gotten into sort of Terminator territory a little bit. Like that was the whole, like one of the big things about Terminator 2 is that the T-800 can't repair himself, and the T-1000 is this liquid metal and can. So like that could have been some interesting stuff, but at the same time, if they had made it, they probably would have tried to force Ro being a robot into it, because obviously they even tease a little bit at the end that Ro wants her answers now.
Yeah. Here's my pitch for them. Go the route of the like hour and a half movie ending.
And there's been some
give them the Serenity ending.
Yeah. I would genuinely like to see that. I mean,
because I'll do that. If it's that, then I know I don't have to deal with any more bullshit fluff.
Yeah,
like give them an hour and just shoehorn everything in they need to.
Because I think
what about the bounty hunter?
What about the he's got to come? What about Crick?
Yeah, that was his name. Yeah,
like I think.
What about Rudd? How did Wes get his job? Where is
true.
What was her name? The other agent.
Oh, Agent Lee.
Agent Lee. What's up with her?
Look, I would.
Did Bucky get into middle school? Is he still in prison? Maybe. Does he deserve it? Yes.
He didn't go to prison. He escaped. He was going to go live with his uncle in a tech commune or something.
Right.
I don't know. He was going to go hang out with the anti-spacers. Look, there are things that I would love to see addressed. Like, I would love for Ro to finally reconnect with her family and then to have to decide, does she stay with Zeta or go back with her family? I would love the idea that maybe Bennett is now open to the idea that Zeta is not a bad guy. Where
Spin-off. Bennett Zeta.
I would watch it. No, I wouldn't.
The Bennett Project.
I would love to see that. I would love to get like some moment that explains why West has that job. I would love to see what happened to Agent Lee. Like, there's enough stuff here that there's story to be told that I would like to see. And I think when this show is actually about something, I think it's decent. I think it's on par with, some like the mid-level episodes of maybe Superman, for example. Like, I think you and I both.
That's such a low bar.
Look, I know.
The mid-level episodes of Superman.
But at the same time, like, I think you and I both more or less kind of.
It's like on par with like a giant monkey that's attacking Metropolis.
I love that episode. All right, I fucking love that episode. Monkey Fun, one of my favorites. Look, I think you and I both more or less kind of enjoyed The Wired. Those two episodes more or less enjoyed this. I would like to see some sort of resolution to this at some point. I mean, we're still trying to get a JAL reunion happening. I think that's a bit of a stretch. If that can happen, this is maybe more likely to be thrown in there somewhere. I think the reality of us getting some sort of resolution to this is pretty small, considering that we've been having a hard time getting more content in the DCAU space, even though that was hugely popular for BTOS, for Justice League.
I mean, it's a slow. I mean, we just got Batman Beyond on Blu-ray. Yeah, I think that's kind of testing the waters of how active the audience still is.
We're in heavy nostalgia mode these days. So look,
they haven't even touched it in the Crisis crossover yet. Where's the voices?
Yeah. Oh my! I mean, we've talked about this. I would love if there's an animated element in the Crisis. I don't think there will be.
I know. I just think they're gonna go into like this dark building. You're just gonna hear the voice.
Yeah,
it's still gonna be live action, but you just don't see the character.
Well, I mean,
you just hear Kevin Conroy.
Well, we are getting him in the Crisis.
That's right.
He is there. It's like I mean, it's there in some capacity. At the end of the day,
I'll change it to Philomar because I want him to have more work.
Oh my god, I love Philomar.
You just hear Philomar. You have a room and you just have like an outer glow of green.
Yeah,
and you hear Philomar. It's like there's something going on over there.
You see like a little bit glow of green. You see like a little bit of like static electricity, and it's just Philomar having a conversation with himself.
Yeah, and then they don't even go into it. That's it.
Would love it. So I don't know. Like, I think there's some interesting stuff here. We probably won't get a follow up on it, but I at least found this episode satisfying.
I'm satisfied that it's over.
Fair enough. Okay, so I mean, along those lines, shall we get into our short list?
Yes.
Here, I imagine it's very short. I'm gonna just run through yours and then I'll run through mine and we'll see.
Let's do it episode up. We have a system. We do it episode by episode. There's only 22.
Okay, let me
24.
get the whole list here. Okay, so
Because there's some where I wanna have a conversation about.
Okay,
this.
all right. Wait, let me bring up the one with the episode descriptions because I just have right now just the list.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's start from the beginning.
Well, let me give you my pitch first. Kill off season 1.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Great. I was hoping for some pushback.
No,
because I do have some.
Look, I always kind of feel like maybe you need to include the pilot to set things up, but we talked about the fact that why? I mean, I guess
what Absolute Zero
kind of
into Wired is a better intro.
Yes, I think we basically cut all of season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then do you include Absolute Zero as the new pilot essentially?
Yeah, I do think we need to bring in the remote control episode.
Do we?
Because it introduces Bucky, and Bucky is kind of a through figure. What are the rules of this again?
So it's okay because I guess we haven't done this in a while.
Yeah.
So our rule for the shortlist is it critical for the overall storytelling of the series, or is it an episode that we think is so good that it has to be included?
Okay.
So in that regards, I would agree with you that we start out. Absolute Zero is a good place to start as like a pseudo intro point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we need to have the Bucky episode because of at least the episodes that I have left on my list, Bucky is part of Wired, but the remote doesn't come into play in that one. The remote only comes into play in what episode is it?
On the Wire. Nope. Cabin Pressure.
So I don't think we need Bucky.
Okay.
No.
Cool. Great.
Fantastic. Okay, so
we'll just
so Absolute
chop
Zero.
this off real quick.
Absolute Zero.
Accomplice. No. His mother's maker. His maker's name. No. Remote control. No. Change of heart. No. Next Gen. No. Westbound. No. Hicksburg. No. Shadows. No. Crime Waves. No. Taffy Time. Fuck that bounty hunter. No. Rose Reunion. No. Kid Genius. No. Absolute Zero. Sure.
Yes. All right, and then I think we include Wired parts 1 and 2.
Yep.
Resume Mission.
Nope. Fuck IU7.
Yeah, I think kind of everything with IU7. Hunt in the Hub.
Nope.
Absolutely not. Rose Gift.
Nope.
Lost and Found.
I said yes.
What?
Because it does. If we want to try and keep in that weird Blackest Night storyline, Brothers Day storyline, then that is the one that talks about
episode.
It. Yeah.
I forgot about that. This is the flashback episode.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
And I think Bucky's also in this one, but whatever. We can shoehorn in Bucky's backstory in this as well.
Yeah, I don't think we really need. I don't think Bucky is so critical. We really need to establish him. So okay, fine. Lost and Found. Eye of the Storm.
Yep.
Yeah. Our vote
Obviously.
for the worst episode of the entire thing, the Turner episode. Quality Time.
I said yes.
I said yes too. I'm actually surprised you had it on here. Okay.
Well,
right.
I'll rephrase that. I said ... Sure, why not?
I have it on here. Quality Time ?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll include Quality Time. So that's the episode where they go to that lab to get there's the whole thing with the starfish DNA, but it's the real first time Zeta and Bennett have to deal with each other.
Yeah, it's the backdoor pilot for Bennett Project.
Exactly. And Bennett and Zeta have that great conversation about you are more dangerous than you think you are. So, okay, we'll include that on The Wire.
I said sure.
I said no.
Okay, we can say no.
I think...
If they were trying... I mean, the Rose storyline is so forgetful.
Yeah.
So fast. You just want to cut that whole thing out?
It doesn't really get... Like, this is the only time... So there's that terrible episode with the step family. And then there's this. The only two times...
Hicksburg. And then there's Rose Reunion, where it's the fake family. Oh, that's the worst
one. Yeah, that's absolutely terrible. I don't feel like... I mean, it's tough to say we're going to cut out like an entire subplot for one of the two main characters.
That's fine.
But that being said, this episode...
We've already cut out every villain.
That's true. This episode just isn't that good to start with, and because it doesn't ever get any real resolution, I said no. I cut it out entirely.
All right, totally fine then. Because then that's also more Bucky we're cutting out.
Yeah, Cabin Pressure.
Nope.
The River Rising.
Nope.
Absolutely not. The Wrong Morph.
Nope.
The Hologram Man.
Got him.
Yes. All right, so then our official... hang on. Do we really need Lost and Found? I kind of want to push back on this a little bit.
No, I want it. Because it's the backstory episode, and even though those aren't always great, they are good to progress story.
I guess this is like one of the few episodes that actually has some sort of character progress.
Yeah.
And we don't really need to introduce Crick from earlier, do we?
No, it can just be a generic bad guy.
You don't really need to know who he is to understand what's happening in the episode.
Yeah.
So, okay, fine. So our official Zeta shortlist here is
6 episodes.
Absolute Zero, The Wire, Part 1 and 2, Lost and Found, Quality Time, The Hologram Man.
Yep.
That's it. We got it.
What a show.
I'm going to be honest, that's more than I expected.
5 is more than you 6 is more than you expected?
Yeah.
That's about what I expected with 6.
I originally went into this thinking it was going to be 3.
Wired in this.
Yeah,
in the finale.
and then you contributed the most to getting more episodes added onto this.
I know.
So
I know. Because I'm a storyteller and I know what's needed.
Yeah. So it's done.
It's done. Closing. This is me closing the book.
Great Foley.
Thank you.
Great Foley work there with
on the Zeta Project.
That pillow. You just want an excuse to have a reason to hit that pillow.
Yep. Someone at the door?
I hate you. I hate you so much.
All
right.
I am never going to watch this show again.
No, absolutely not. And I own it now across 2 different platforms.
Amazing. Did I talk about the Warner app?
Can you talk about the Warner app?
I can talk about the Warner app.
Okay.
Why not? Someone was dumb enough to give me access to the Warner screening app, which basically gives me access to the entirety of Warner's backlog. And when I say entirety, I mean the entirety of Warner's backlog. And I was scrolling through just trying to like fill in some of the pieces. They have every Scooby-Doo, every Hanna-Barbera thing, and every DC thing. And I'm like, I wonder, this platform has everything. Even they forgot to include Zeta Project. And I think that speaks lengths about this show's priority in everyone's mind.
Look, I don't disagree with that.
The platform had Cats Don't Dance.
Oh, of course it did. I know that's the first thing you looked up.
It literally was the first thing I looked up.
It's weird. I think it's fair to say that this show is forgotten for a reason. Mm-hmm. I was about to say I think it gets more of a kicking than it deserves, but I think you and I are the only people actually doing the kicking at this point.
Yeah.
We're
not even like kicking it while it's down. Like this has been a dead body that we just discovered, and we came over with a stick and just started whacking it.
I think it had some people who were really trying to do something interesting with this, and it had the potential, and it just never quite lived up to that potential. And for that alone, I feel bad for like Robert Goodman and Julian Nathanson and Dietrich Bader and everyone who like really put in the energy and effort into this. And we probably didn't help that at all by spending the last
4 months,
several months, really kind of shitting on it. But look, if you are I'm not gonna say a DCAU completist, but if you are all like curious about this, and you want to watch it, I don't know if I would say, you know, you can just buy the season 2 DVD, which is what I did, because that has Absolute Zero on it. Mm-hmm. I think it does. And it has all the episodes you need to watch on it, basically.
All 6 of them.
Yeah. So
and then return it.
Maybe just do that. Not to return it. Like support the creatives.
Yeah.
Support
right.
them. It's not that expensive. It's like $20. It's not expensive. All right. Shall we get into notes from friends here?
Let's do it.
Move along. All right. Got a few things here. So one, again, want to mention that Maddie Washburn, amazing Maddie Washburn, sent us all this information on Zeta. She sent us stuff in the live action movie that was referenced, on all the stuff that could have been on season 3. He's really making a push to try and get some sort of new content out of this, either some sort of follow-up movie in the way we described, or maybe a comic or something somewhere. So, you know, if you are at all interested in seeing more or hearing more about Zeta, which I would be surprised given how much we've been just mean to this whole show, but go
look. I'm not gonna apologize.
No, I look. I know you're not going to, but like, yeah, go check out Maddie on Twitter and kind of help support whatever his movements are to try and get some more stuff out of this. But and I'll include his handle in the show notes. But he also sent in something, and I don't know if did we ever talk about the fact, since we were about ready to get into Static Shock, it's coming up next. Did we ever talk about the fact that there's actually only like one episode of Static Shock with Shaq in it, but you think there's like a whole season?
I feel like there's like 7 episodes with Shaq.
So there's a reason for that. There is. And the reason you think there's so much of it is when they were doing that one episode with Shaq, they did a whole bunch of promos with him for the show. Okay. So you probably remember all the promos. So I'm gonna play the first one here. You're gonna get a little bit garbled sound coming through the microphone, but
you've seen him on the courts, you've seen him in the movies, but you've never seen him like this.
Static who?
This Saturday, superstar Shaquille O'Neal joins Static Shock.
Man, I can't believe we're hanging out with Shaq.
For a special month of supercharged adventures.
I'm ready to be a superhero. Can you teach me?
You're talking to an expert.
Get ready for the all-new adventures of Static Shack, part of Static Shock. Beginning this Saturday at 11, 10 Central and Pacific on Kids WB.
I will also include, it's like an 8-minute long video that includes all the different promos. Because like the whole series of Shaq asking Virgil to teach him how to be a better hero and stuff like that. I think that's what you're thinking of. So like he was front and center in their marketing around the show for like a month. And I think that's what it ultimately comes down to.
Well, because then they had the episodes with the other NBA players, though.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I think we also just think like, oh, like Shaq played Steel. Like he must have had some appearance. Also, like I love when they say we've seen him in the movies. It's a shot of the movie Steel.
Yeah.
But I think that's what you're thinking of. So Maddie wrote in to point that out to us, and like I said, I'll put it in the show notes. I'll send it to you, Cameron. It's worth going through watching it because it's kind of fun. Plus, it's just nostalgic. I remember that promo airing.
Oh yeah, me too.
Which is pretty crazy. So I think that's what you're thinking of. We also got a note from Ashley Clark.
It feels good to hear Richie's voice. I can't wait.
It does. I know Jason Marsden, right? Mm-hmm. Great Jason Marsden. So, but we got a note from Ashley Clark. She wrote in to comment about the death and right of Superman, which is something that we talked about on last week's episode because I just watched it. And she said, I love the death and return of Superman. I saw the separate movies and then bought the combination edition. It's so very heartfelt in a way that most of the other movies have not been for years. I want to make sure I got that across.
I think you nailed it.
Thank you. Also, she said, hope you're all having fun at Disney, because she said this yesterday when we were at Disneyland. But no, like I absolutely agree with that. I thought, especially the death of Superman was emotionally resonant in a way that a lot of the, especially the New 52 stuff, but I'd say the DC animated films in general aren't always. I think for me, Mask of the Phantasm definitely is. Did I cry last time I watched that? I don't know. I find myself now crying.
Good.
A lot.
Good for you.
That's a whole separate conversation about my mental state, but I'm finding movies are emotionally resonant in a way they weren't before.
Yeah.
I may have cried the last time.
Crying shouldn't be seen as a negative thing. And I'm tired of people that like...
It is a good thing. That's more me just like poking fun at myself for like being this like emotionless robot for the vast majority of my life. Mm-hmm. And for the fact that it's weird things that make me cry, mostly the Wrath of Khan.
Fruit baskets.
Yeah, oh my God. I sometimes have to see a fruit basket. I'm like, look at the gift this fruit has given to the world. And someone was nice enough to send a really mediocre gift to somebody else. And it brings a tear to my eye. Every time.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was like, is there a superhero named Fruit Basket? No, there's not. But no, like I really liked those movies. And I've heard that there's a little bit of additional content in the combo thing.
Oh, nice.
What is happening on my street right now?
It's my amazing Foley. I can do a lot of Foley with this pillow.
Cameron has...
It's impressive, right?
Cameron is like Bert from Mary Poppins. He's over there with a full band strapped to his body.
No, just the pillow.
He has a pillow and a horn.
Yep.
And a very small motorcycle.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I really quite enjoyed those. They were good. And then... we had I missed these originally because I always check our messages. Sometimes I forget to check our comments. But we had a couple amazing comments from Reinka Customs. So I've mentioned them before. They have a fantastic Instagram account and they do all these really incredible custom action figures and and minifigures. A lot of it in the DCU space, some Star Trek stuff. But after our episode 132, when I plugged the Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack, left a comment saying, Cracking pod, guys.
Thanks, guy. Appreciate it.
Also wrote in when we were talking on the Joker episode, and you mentioned playing basketball with a bully or something like that.
Yeah, when I got my fight.
That's right. When you got into your fight, and he commented, it's funny that Cameron said he was playing basketball in a story and just horsing around. That is the sound of Cameron getting up and walking away. He may be going to his kickball game early. Ranka Customs, I hope I'm saying your name right, 1. But 2, thank you for writing in. I love to force bad puns upon Cameron. And so the fact that I now have audience members doing the same brings me endless amounts of joy.
I hate this podcast.
And then we had one other comment here, which I thought was really crazy. I never put this in perspective. But Instagram account Dem Jinkies wrote in to say, just realized that the boomers of 2049 are today's millennials.
Which ones are the boomers?
The boomers are like our parents' generation.
No.
The baby boomers are like the post-World War generation. So
I know that.
Yeah. But like, so the role the boomers now play in our society of being like the older generation that kind of like wants things the way they were before and has, well, if we're being perfectly honest, completely fucked over our generation in almost every conceivable way. We will now be that for.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I never put that in sort of context, but it's absolutely right. Yeah. Like when the show takes place, we will be of that age. So yeah. So, I mean, I will turn 60 in 2049.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how every generation works. That's why we have.
No, I understand.
No.
I understand.
I want to put it in television references. That's why you had the hippie movement of the 60s, and then you had the like straight-laced family ties Michael Fox of the 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
He's like, no, Reagan wouldn't allow this stuff. I'm not going to be like my hippie parents.
Patron Saint Reagan.
Yeah. And then that fed into the 90s and 2000s of we're just not going to do anything because why fight it, man?
The Gen X mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now the money mentality is it's all fucked.
Yeah. Well, now we're back to not the 40s, the protest era.
Yeah.
Yeah. History repeats itself. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
What do you know?
Well, I mean, this is something you and I are talking about a little bit because it's related to your work. We don't have to get into it too much, but the idea that it's hard to characterize millennials in any sort of content as anything other than really kind of like jaded and cynical.
Yeah.
'Cause that's like our entire generation is that way. Now, like, I also like to think that we have a good sense of humor.
Well, and fake.
In what sense?
In the sense of we always there's a great artist, and I don't remember their name right now, that does these beautiful series where it's a character holding a piece of technology, and so it'll be like her sitting in front of her laptop, and from the shine of the screen, everything looks perfect, and that's all in color, and then in black and white around the character is just like chaos and depression, and like everything is broken.
Okay, I saw something similar once before where it's like, it's like, I don't know, it's like a photo of an apple, and then you see from the opposite side, like the back of it's like all rotten and like taking this huge bite out of it and stuff. And like, okay, so I'll push back slightly on that. That I think fake has a lot of judgmental connotations behind it. I think we are a generation that's very aware of our facades.
Yeah, okay, I'll take that.
So, because I agree with you. I mean, we are very Instagram, social media focused, where we're always like, if you go through anyone's Instagram, it looks like they're living the best life ever. And obviously that doesn't really show the reality of it.
Yeah, people are always asking, why are you at Disney every day?
Exactly. But I also think that we're a generation that is maybe the most comfortable of any generation about talking about the gritty, real reality of it, right? So it's like, we literally were just talking about a few minutes ago, like the fact that, it should be okay to cry about things. And like, I always talk about that. Like talk about going to therapy and stresses and stuff like that. I think we are a generation that will always, that a lot of times is comfortable talking about that sort of stuff, but it's also figuring out a way to do it so that it is not just constantly negative and toxic and problematic.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and I think that becomes the challenge of finding a balance between like the glossy sheen, the artifice of like the amazing life that's up on Instagram and like the reality of it. And like, you know, and to some degree, not that you and I are, you know, also contributing to this, but it's like, we have this, both of us now have this like incredible like Instagram story of us at Disneyland yesterday, this whole crazy thing. And like, we were totally in the middle of that, but then that doesn't reflect the fact that like we had to do it on Saturday because our work lives are both super, super insane. And we're probably going to be like dragging our asses now for the next week because we're so tired and all this other sort of stuff. So I think fake is what the boomers would call our generation. And so I think it's worth differentiating a little bit on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Am I supposed to say something here?
No, I don't know. I just wanted to correct.
Where's the script? Can we roll that back real quick?
I just wanted to correct you. Yeah. I'm sorry. The teleprompter's down.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have anything really in terms of plugs, or do we want to take this opportunity to do a brief little story about what we did yesterday?
Let's plug Disneyland.
Okay, yeah. So this is gonna be a slight different thing for plugs.
And also the streaming service coming out called Disney Plus comes out November 12th.
Yes.
$6.99. 613 things opening day.
It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, that's my plug.
Yes, as always. But no, you and I did something.
You want to plug Booksmart again?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Disney Plus and Booksmart are just always implied.
Yeah,
as perpetual bat plugs.
Mm-hmm.
They're forever plugs.
There's deep in there.
Just deep, so deep.
So
in
Disneyland.
There. So you and I did something yesterday that we've been talking about doing for years.
Mm-hmm.
Cameron, why don't you explain what this challenge is, where it came from, and why we did it?
Yeah, so the challenge is called Blackout Bingo at Disney.
It has nothing to do with getting blacked out drunk, by the way. Worth clarifying.
As my mom mentioned, has nothing to do with the game bingo, where Blackout Bingo is where you have to cover the entire board and not just like a line.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I mean, I get where the name applies to the situation,
Mm-hmm.
so...
Yeah, so Blackout Bingo at Disney is if you get a Disneyland map and you open it up, on the right will be a list of attractions and things to do in the park.
Yeah, rides, attractions, shows.
Yeah, character meetups, etc. What we tried to do was everything on that list. There are 60 things, and we wanted to do all of it in one day at Disney.
Yeah. And where did you first discover this was a thing?
So the idea came years ago when I started doing my animations. Mm-hmm. I wanted to, at the very end of, once I finished the last animation, which I still have like 17 to go.
Of course.
I wanted to do every ride that I animated. Mm-hmm. But then I saw, I think on Reddit somewhere, there was a couple that had been planning this out, and now it's like a big challenge people do at a bunch of parks where you post your timestamp to kind of prove to everyone that you did it in one day.
Yeah.
And so this is the Disneyland version. You do everything in Disneyland. There's a Disney World version where you do not attractions, but just rides. There are 49 rides among the 4 parks. I guess now 50, now that they have Smuggler's Run as well.
Yeah.
There are 50 rides between the 4 parks, trying to ride all 50 rides in one day. And then there was some guy that took it to the next level. And I think he was sponsored by Disney, so he had his flights paid for. Mm-hmm. But he rode, I think it was in 36 hours, he rode one ride in every park around the world.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And to explain how impressive it is, all the parks are Disneyland, California Adventure, obviously in Los Angeles.
Yep.
The 4 parks in Disney World.
Yeah, Epcot, Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, and Hollywood Studios.
Disneyland Paris
has 2. Mm-hmm. They have MGM Studios and Disneyland Paris.
And then was it Shanghai?
Shanghai is the newest one. Yeah, it was the video was done to promote Shanghai.
Okay, Shanghai, the 2 parks in Tokyo, and then
Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, so you have Tokyo Disneyland and then Tokyo Disney Sea.
Yeah. So look, I mean, that's a particularly incredible feat. So our goal was simply just to do every ride and attraction on that map in one day. Should we explain the caveats at the beginning or at the end?
We'll do it at the end.
Okay. All right. So what this entailed was I woke up at 4:15 yesterday because I needed to because I just like woke up and
as
couldn't
a
fall
boy
back
on
asleep.
Christmas.
Honestly, it was kind of like the rush of waking up Christmas morning as a kid. I was like, at that point, I was just so focused on what we had to get done. I started writing the whole list on my phone, planning out a social media strategy. But yeah, you came and picked me up at 6:15, drove down to the park, at the park by 7 a.m., at the gate by 7:15. Yeah, 7:15. And then when the park opened at 8 o'clock, we immediately jumped in and started doing rides. We're not going to go like ride by ride because that would be insane. But like some of the early drama was we got in line for Peter Pan. Notoriously always breaks down 20 minutes into the
Us
line.
waiting, yeah.
So we like scramble. We go to hit everything else in
And those
Fantasyland.
first 30 minutes are precious at Disney. Like you can hit, if you know your route, and we know our routes now, you can knock out 6 rides in 30 minutes.
Absolutely. And it didn't help, too, that they happen to have what's called a magic hour, which means if you're staying at a Disneyland park, you get into the park an hour early. The day we went yesterday, so Saturday, they had that for Magic Kingdom, or I guess for Disneyland Park is the way to put it, which meant that there was already people in the park before we were able to get in the park, which also kind of extended the lines for some things.
Yeah.
Now we've been talking about doing this for years. We always thought we'd try and do it on a Wednesday on an off season. The reason we didn't end up happening that way. The reason we did it when we did was we were trying to get in before. Well, originally we were trying to do this before even Smuggler's Run opened, and it didn't happen. And now we were like, okay, we got to get in before Rise of the Resistance because that'll be impossible to get that ride in with everything else for months after it opens. And then with both of our work schedules, mine in particular, it was impossible to do it on a weekday.
Yeah.
And we were trying to make sure that we could get in before they closed Small World to holidayise it. Unfortunately, we failed.
Yes.
We figured that out yesterday.
My bad.
Yes, yesterday when we figured that out, it was already closed. So that was off the list. And then due to some other modifications, one of the transports on Main Street was also closed. The omnibus was closed. Other than that,
we did 58 rides in 16 hours.
Yeah.
58 attractions in 16 hours.
Yeah, rides and attractions. Yeah, so we were there from before the park opened to after it closed.
Yes. 18 hours total.
Yeah. It was insane. I think it was a mad rush at the end because I think we seem to be on. Okay, what was your emotional state going through it over the course of the day? Like, did you feel like we'd be able to do it at certain points? Were you starting to have doubts?
Well, I think the problem was how we planned it because we had the first half of the day planned basically to the 30-minute. Like we knew exactly where we needed to be, when we needed to be there, when we needed to be out, and everything for the right half of the park.
Yeah.
For Fantasyland, we knew everything we needed to do. Tomorrowland, we knew everything. Toontown and Main Street, we had on lockdown.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff in those areas that don't have fast passes, others that have critical fast passes or single riders. So we based it all around that.
Yeah, so we were moving at a good pace to clean that out. And I think we were on pace to clear that stuff out.
Yeah.
Once we moved to the second half of the park, I think we were a little looser with how we were going to handle things.
Yeah, I think having a better plan in place. But like, there's also a huge element of improvisation that goes along with it because
rides go down at any point.
Yeah, I mean, that happened for us a couple times. Rides were going down, or you just can't plan on how busy it's going to be at the end of the day.
Yeah, there could be a weird wave that just hit. Because Jungle Cruise just had a trailer come out, that was my turning point.
Yeah.
The line for Jungle Cruise has been out the queue since the trailer came out.
Yes,
People are so excited to ride it now.
A 40 minute wait.
When it's usually 15.
Yeah, well, and then also because it's Halloween season, the line for Haunted Mansion at its peak was
200 minutes.
200 minutes, yeah.
3 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah, which is absolutely insane because, I mean, obviously, for us, it's like we can kind of go whenever. But for a lot of people, they come in just for that. Like, so they're there, like, that's the ride they're going to go on.
Yeah.
And, if you can't get a fast pass for it, which those burn pretty quickly, to get
early fast passes. We got ours at 11, and they were burnt out by 1.
Yeah. So if you can't get a fast pass and you were determined to ride that ride, you just got to get in line. That's what you're going to do. But that affects things too. If you have a single ride that gets so busy, now all of a sudden you get a lot of people looking at it going like, okay, fuck it. Like, we're not going to bother doing Haunted Mansion. So what else is in the area? So Pirates of the Caribbean was super long. Indy was about on par for what it normally is, I would say. But, Jungle Cruise was pretty long as well. Even the Winnie the Pooh ride, which remember you walk on to,
had like a 10-minute
wait. Like 10, 15-minute wait. This was, I haven't been in a while, but this was one of the busiest days I've been to in quite some time, especially for this time of year, given that it was a Saturday.
Well,
So,
I learned 2 or 3 Saturdays ago, it hit peak numbers like in Disney history.
really?
Yeah, for fall season.
Jesus. Yeah, it's just been super busy right now. Part of it too maybe is the fact that we've had like an extended summer in LA. So it was hot yesterday. It was like 90 degrees. We were in shorts. But it was crazy crowded. So, we're taking on this really ambitious challenge and making it that much harder by going at like the worst possible time, more or less. Now, you knew some other folks that did this once already, or like you read about them, the ones who had like time.
Yeah, when I was reading through the people that did it before, they did it as we should have. And this was also 4 or 5 years ago when there was a real off season. Off season doesn't really exist anymore at Disney.
No,
it's just a little less crowded. But before there was a real off season, and you could go. And I remember going on an off season day, and it's magic.
Yeah,
when you feel like you have the park to yourself, and you can walk on everything. And so this couple, they were writing about how like they did all the mountains in a row, and his wife was feeling nauseous, so they spent like an hour and a half just sitting having lunch. They met up with friends, they got a drink, and then they jumped back in it and still finished by like 10:45,
which is unfathomable to us, who took 2 very brief food breaks, but basically didn't eat at all yesterday.
Yeah. Our food breaks were, we walked up, grabbed our food, and kept walking.
And kept going, yeah.
We didn't sit once outside of like sit rides.
Yeah, we had to.
We didn't sit down for 18 hours.
Time our bathroom breaks. No time to get a drink.
I got so mad at you every time you had to go to the bathroom.
I'm sorry. I have a tiny baby bladder, and I was trying to stay hydrated. We were running around all day long. But yeah, I think overall strategy worked pretty well. It got down to the wire at the last.
Yeah,
at the last
our last ride was technically 4 rides. I had it listed as 4.
With the train. I think we got to go a little bit earlier than that though, because like we've been running around. We go do Peter Pan. It breaks out. Okay, fuck it. Like, okay, we'll go at the end of the day when it's quiet again. So we always had that in the background. Same with Pirates of the Caribbean. Over in Tomorrowland.
Yeah. So for people who've never been to Disney, typically just Disneyland. It still applies to World, but not on the same level because World closes earlier. At Disneyland, it typically closes at 11 or at midnight. And when we give you that number, that means you can get in a line up until that time.
Yes.
So they don't kick you out at midnight. They cut the queues off at midnight.
Yeah.
So you can still hop on Peter Pan at 11:59. And even if the line is 40 minutes, you're staying in the park until 12:40.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to throw you out.
Yeah, exactly. So we knew that there was a couple things we go.
Oh, and sorry, because I brought that up.
Yeah.
Usually if you wait until like 11:30 after the fireworks, the parade, Fantasmic, the park empties out. And usually you have it's as empty as it is in the first thing in the morning.
Exactly. So we kind of loaded a bunch of stuff at the end of the day, stuff that didn't have fast passes, we knew would be long lines. So Pirates of the Caribbean, Peter Pan, the Finding Nemo ride, the Autopia, all had long lines. You can't do fast passes. Like, okay, let's wait to the end of the day and hope they're a little bit quieter. The problem is those are all spread out in different places across the park. And we had just sections that got slow. So like we hit a few things quickly in Fantasyland, and then all of a sudden the crowds are coming in. So now things are taking a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. And in the middle of the day, we had to do a lot of the stuff around the river. So that meant one trip on the Columbia around the river, one trip on Mark Twain's riverboat. We had to do the canoes. We had to get over to Tom Sawyer's Island and back. Those are all things that just take time. They're long rides. They're long waits to make it all happen. And so that in of itself was a few hours that we had to get in the middle of the day before they closed early at 5. Mm-hmm. As well. So then I kind of divided up the day. We had to get over to Galaxy's Edge to get on Smuggler's Run. That wasn't too long of a wait. I had to buy a lightsaber.
Yeah.
# worth it. We had to do the Tiki Room. Like there's stuff that just takes time, and that started to get kind of backlogged towards the end of the day. And so I'd say the middle of the day was kind of lackadaisical, especially around the river cruise parts of it.
Yeah, we were feeling confident.
Yeah, like, okay.
We were having conversations of like, maybe we'll have time to go to the other park.
We'll pop over to DCA.
We can go get a drink
grab
after
a drink.
this.
And then I'd say like around the time of the fireworks.
All came crashing. Oh,
yeah.
I was going to say Jungle Cruise. It all came crashing down.
I think Jungle Cruise when it got bad, when it's like, okay, now we have to start hitting the stuff that doesn't have fast passes. We just have to deal with these lines.
And we'd been expecting, because we got through Smuggler's Run a little faster than expected. We did Big Thunder a little faster than expected. So we were ahead of schedule. And then as we were planning, we'd always had in our head Jungle Cruise is a 10-minute wait.
Yeah.
We get in line and it was 40 minutes.
It was the longest wait we had. Maybe the longest wait we had for any ride. Maybe tied with Peter Pan, maybe.
Yeah, and that the queue they have for Jungle Cruise and that whole area is themed to feel like a busy small street.
Yeah.
And so you're supposed to feel a little claustrophobic no matter what you're doing there.
But that line in particular, it's like a really tiny like bungalow space. Like it's a staircase that's essentially wide enough for one person that they have like put a line up and a line down.
Yeah. The hallway you're waiting in is 12 across, and it holds exactly 12 people. Like you are shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
And you were in that room for
it's tight.
25 of the 45 minutes.
Things started to get kind of intense at that point, but like we had to keep going, and then it was like a mad scramble. Like, okay, so at this point now we have to like let's head over to Tomorrowland and burn through everything that's left over there. Then let's go through Fantasyland and like.
Oh, and also since it is so close to daylight savings, while we were in that hallway just for that 20 minutes, the sun just disappeared.
It went, yeah.
So we walk in and it's sunny, and we walk out and it's pitch black.
It's dark, and now it's like it feels
and now,
like it's
the pressure's on.
So much later, and then we're having to like run over and like quickly catch Pirates of the Caribbean, which had a super long line. Got to see Fantasmic, and then race back over to Fantasyland, and we were able to clean off like all the rest of that stuff. Where we go to Snow White, which had a bit of a wait, so we're like,
which was the last of our small rides.
Exactly. We get there, shut down.
It's closed. It had technical issues.
Fuck, we're not okay. We're gonna keep going, but we're just not gonna get all of it at the end of the day. It's like, okay, fine. We'll get in line for Peter Pan, and that'll give us plenty of time to get over to at that point, the railroad was the last thing we had to do.
Yeah.
If you ride the railroad once around the park, you hit all 4 stops, you're done. And we're like, we've kind of accept the fact that we're not gonna get to Snow White, and then at 11:30 it opened up again.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like, okay, fuck, can we get through Peter Pan fast enough to get over to Snow White, to get through that fast enough to then get to the train station in time? And you had the really smart idea because we were going to go to the Tomorrowland station and catch it there. And then you're like, no, let's just go to Main Street and end it there. And thank God we did, because we got
the sweeper train. So I just recently learned about this, but the sweeper train is the last train that goes around. Basically, once the park opens, there's a train that circles the entirety of the park. 4 trains, actually. But the very last train that goes through is the sweeper train. They don't drop off, they only pick up.
Yeah.
And we got the very, very last train.
We got on like it was a photo finish.
Yeah.
We at no point did we ever really run. I power walk everywhere.
I skip.
I'm tall and I'm gay, and gay men just walk super fast. I don't know why we do.
I have what was my analogy yesterday? I have the skipping stamina of an antelope.
Yes, exactly. So then Cameron, in retribution for me like power walking all day long with my longer legs, started skipping everywhere. Then I'm like scrambling to keep up with him. But at no point I'd say we do ever.
There's not running. It's skipping.
There's no running. We were definitely like going with haste, but we were like
skipping is just running with more joy.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just running with zhuzh.
Yeah.
But yeah, we like scrambled down Main Street and like saw one train leave. Okay, fine, we'll get the next one. The next one comes in, and we get on like this is the last.
Yep. And then
train.
Yeah.
We just made it. And I think that was the best possible way for us to wrap the whole thing up, to end the thing on the sweeper train and just like finally decompress.
Because you see the entire park and it's empty at that point. So you feel like you have conquered the park.
Oh my God, yeah.
You were the last ones there.
We literally did a lap.
Yeah.
Around the park.
We did a victory lap.
We did a victory lap. And the fact that we were there when it was empty at the beginning of the day, and then we were there at the end of the day when it's empty. I've never done a full open to close. I've done pretty damn close to it.
Same. Yeah, I've never done open to close before.
Yeah,
either.
I've never been in the park before it opened and ended after. But it was super crazy. We'll put something up on the Timm Talk Instagram, like maybe some of the photos, like an abbreviated version of the story.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you get the full experience, go check out each of our respective Instagrams.
I still have to put up my highlights, but you have your highlights up.
Yeah, it's up on highlights already. It was really, really fun. Like that element of it started to like become its own fun, separate thing. So it's like we were trying to like tag team the photos a little bit and like share back and forth, make sure we always had something represented. And we were both getting lots of love from friends on Instagram, being like, "You guys got this. This is so incredible. We believe in you."
Some not to love, Gretchen.
Yes, yeah. How dare you? I don't know. You know who you are, Gretchen.
Gretchen.
You know, I had a number of people message me like
Garland.
I had a number of people message me telling me like I am way too invested in this. So we basically just became like other people's like Saturday entertainment as they're much more comfortable like hanging out and having brunch or like watching TV on their couch. But I'm very proud of us.
As am I.
We did it.
We've been talking about it for 2 or 3 years, and we did it.
We finally did it.
And now we're gonna try it again next year.
Yeah, I mean, you and I are both people that don't deal well with asterisks to our accomplishments. Which look, I consider what we did yesterday a fucking victory at the end of the day. Like,
Same.
I don't know anyone else who's done 58 rides and attractions in Disneyland in a single day on a peak Saturday. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't know anyone else who's done that.
Or crazy enough to try it.
Or even crazy to try. A lot of people ask me why. I now know why. It was amazing. But you know, you and I don't like the fact that we missed Small World. We missed the Omnibus. That technically on the map we have Rise of Resistance is listed on there, but obviously the ride's not open yet, so it doesn't really.
Yeah, the map
count.
has 64 things. But one doesn't exist anymore, the Golden Horseshoe. One isn't open yet, the Rise of the Resistance, and 2 are cost money.
Yeah.
The Build a Droid and Build a Lightsaber.
Yeah,
And
so-
we're not dropping $300 for this challenge.
No. And so I think when we will attempt this again, probably year and a half, maybe. When we do, I feel like the rules will be we have to participate in every ride and attraction unless they have a cost.
Yes. Agreed.
I think that's a reasonable caveat. Also, we didn't actually do Savi's, which is where you build a lightsaber, but I bought a lightsaber, and you've bought a droid before.
Yeah, but not in the 16 hours.
Okay, we'll count it. But no, it was so much fun.
I didn't buy a droid. I saved a droid.
Yes.
His name is R213.
But, I mean...
He is lucky.
Did you save him, Cameron? Or did he save you?
It's mutual.
It's mutual, yeah. No, it was really, really ridiculously fun. And I will honestly say that I think you and I had made a genuine effort to actually make the Instagram stories entertaining too, and to make sure like we included the bits of like drama and tension where we were experiencing it. I mean, look, it's basically just scrolling through and seeing us have like a photo or a video of every single ride, but there's a little bit more to it than that. And I would say that there's actual genuine like entertaining storytelling happening there.
Yeah.
So go check that out.
Yeah, and if you guys ever want to come to Disneyland, I'm always there.
Cameron is always there. He is legitimately always there.
I love playing tour guide.
He really does. He's very, very good at it. You did most of the planning for this, and I do appreciate it. So, but I think with that,
we're gonna end it.
We're gonna go ahead and end it. Yeah. So, if you want to reach out to us as a podcast, we are at Timm Talk Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Gmail. If you've actually seen the Zeta Project, I would love to hear what your like short list would be. So this might be literally just Maddie responding to us. But
yeah, how would you write season 3 or make the movie?
Yeah, would really be curious to hear your thoughts on that, everybody. And then if you want to see our respective posts, in this case specifically about Disneyland, Cameron, where can they find you?
You can find me at CamDexter_adventures. And that's it for right now.
That's it for right now. Exactly.
Where can they find you?
You can find me at Lordifer. I always say Twitter and Instagram, but really it's basically just Instagram.
Okay.
So, but yeah, go check that out. And coming up next for the Timm Talk podcast and DCAU,
Superhero Static Shock.
Static Shock, everybody.
Whoop, whoop.
Cannot wait.
Superhero Static Shock.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
He's superhero gifted.
Bye.
Bell rings back at school. Nobody know what I do. Superhero Static Shock. Whoop, whoop. Superhero Static Shock.